Hello, welcome back. So, in this session, we will be looking at logical and conditional operators in SQL Server. So, this is where data analysis or database development becomes very much interesting because we will be doing some analysis using SQL operators. So, I will bring up my slides so that we can have a look at what the things that we need to discuss in this session. All right, so logical and conditional operators in SQL. So on the left hand side, we have the operator. On the right hand side, we have description of the operators. Some of them you're already aware of. Some of them we've used over the course of the um, session in some previous videos in the past, and some of them you haven't even seen yet. So we will have a look at them all today, and going forward, we'll be introducing them in our analytics work. Okay, so the first one, equal. We all know what equals mean. When something is equal to another, it means they're the same, right? So we'll see how that works in SQL Server. And the other one below that is not equal, where you have the less than and the greater than sign facing each other. Similarly, the exclamation mark and equal sign means not equal as well. So if you find anywhere that you see the first sign and you see the second sign, you should know that they mean the same thing. So it doesn't really matter which one you use. It has no performance impact or anything. No hidden reason why you should use one over the other, except for the fact that given your understanding of SQL language, having different dialects on different RDBMS implementations. So for example, in SQL Server, you use the less than and equal sign more than in Oracle, for example. So in MySQL or Oracle, you see the exclamation mark and equal sign being used the most. And the reason for this is the one is the standard and the other one is just a dialect of the other. So, but generally speaking, you find them in use interchangeably uh, in the course of your career. You see different people using them interchangeably. They just mean the same thing. So don't get confused over that. So going on to greater than and less than, we know that already. We won't deliberate much on that. And the other two, which is greater than or equal and less than or equal. So what that means is the values should be either greater than, no, not even either. The value should be both greater than and equal to the expression or to the value that's been given. And if you don't understand what that statement means, I'm just speaking English, you will see it in proper demonstration when we start putting it in our SQL code. So the same concept is for the less than or equal. And between means between an inclusive range. So if you have a range of values and you want to say it has to be between this and that, so that is in use a lot in SQL Server as well. And then we have the like, and like is used to search for a pattern in a text or in some set of data. So if I say like D in a word dog, so what that means is I'm looking for the pattern of D in a sentence. So you will also see that. Then there is in, which is to specify multiple values for a column. So if you have a column and it has series of values on that table, you can say that you want to return a set of data that are in x, 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 and y that you have specified. And we have and, which is a combination of conditions that must evaluate to true. So if we have a condition on the left and you have another on the right, and you put and in between, that means both of them have to be true for data to be returned to you. We have not, which means the condition must be false. So it's like the opposite of and. And finally, there we have or, and that means either of the conditions must evaluate to true. So if both are true, it will return data. If one of them is false, it will return data for the one that evaluates to true. So without spending too much time explaining all these things and trying to make you understand them, let's actually see them in action. So I'm going to bring up my management studio, and before I proceed, I would like to introduce you to a term called wildcard. So what wildcard means is, wildcard is, I would say, something that is used to represent another, or like a placeholder. A placeholder is something that holds a value temporarily while the real value is being presented. So we'll see wildcard in use when we start talking about like, but in the meantime, let's just hold on to that concept of wildcard. When we get there, I would explain to you and show you what sort of wildcards that we have. So in our sample DB, I'm going to create this table. So we already know what create means. We know from our DML, from our DDL create, and from our DML, we're going to insert these values, and that's 11 rows affected. And let's start talking about these operators. So we're going to start with like, and what we're trying to do here is start with s followed by any character. First of all, let's return back all the data in this table. So you can see we have 11 rows returned, and we have a data set right here. So remember, from our concept of where clause is to filter the data. So if what you want to filter has to follow a particular pattern, so you know that what you're looking for starts with S, but you don't know what sort of letters follow after. So you use a percent sign as the wildcard. So that's the wildcard that I was trying to explain to you the other time. So percent is said to be a placeholder. So it's holding a place for the things that you don't know, so that by the time the SQL Server engine goes to search for the data, when it finds the data, then it returns the value that it finds based on the thing that you have specified. And in this case, what we've specified is to search for something like S. As long as it starts with S and ends with anything else, then we're fine. So what are we saying here? Select star, right, from students. You know what star means? Everything. Where first name like this. And if we hit execute, the only data that meets this requirement is person ID 3. So like is one of our operators that I mentioned the other time, right? And we're using a wildcard to bring back the sort of data that we're looking for. So here we say it starts with S and ends with anything else. If you look at the table, you will find out that on first name column, we don't have any other thing that starts with S. You can check that out. You can see everything is other alphabets apart from Simon, which happens to be the person ID 3, and that's the exact data that we got back. So let's move on. So if we had another requirement that says S must exist anywhere in the name, so what you do is you put the percent symbol before and after S, and if you run that query, you will find this kind of data. So you can see that with Simon we have S that starts, with James anything starts but S ends it. So you can play around with this and put different values. Let's see if there's anything that starts with D and ends with anything else. So you see we have a number of data here that starts with D, and ends with anything else. So we have Dare, Dave, we have Dave, we have Dukwe. So that's how to work with like, and you can do more research, you can learn more, you can practice and try to put different things around, and that will solidify your knowledge about that. So we have here another one. There's another wild card that we normally use, and that's the underscore sign. So what that does, it substitutes a value that is unknown. So, but unlike percent, which can take a number of alphabets together, underscore represents just one character. So if I did just one underscore, I'm trying to say, okay, something that's a character, just one character before the at symbol. That's what that means. So if I select this and I said select start from students where email like something before the at Gmail. So you can see it's just one letter J before the at Gmail. That's what we're saying here. If what we said was 2 underscore, then we're trying to say it has to be 2 characters before the at symbol, and there's nothing like that, and that's why it didn't return any data. So let's see if we can have a similar example. Let's say, so we have Chooks. Chooks is 1 2 3 4 5 6. So we have 1 2 3 4 5 6, and we change the Gmail to live.com. Let's see if we have anything back. We don't have anything back. That's because we don't have live here. So if I did this, okay, so now we have the data back. So you can see what we're saying here, that the underscore just represents the alphabet, the letters that we don't know. But if you know the number of letters, then you could just put that. But I hardly use this. What I use most of the time in the real world is the percent symbol, but it depends on the pattern you're looking for. So let's move on to combining multiple wildcards. So you can use more than one different wildcard for a particular query. So let's bring back all the data first, and we're saying where email like percent, meaning anything before 3xpoint.com. So let's say we know the name of the website for the email, but we don't know the proper user ID for that email. And again, we'll say first name like underscore, the number of underscore here, and E. So I believe we have just 3, 1 2 3. So we have 3 underscore here. So if I select this, you can see that these two conditions have to meet, and that's what the AND is doing there. Because with AND, the condition on the left and the condition on the right, they have to return to true for it to return data. And what that means again is, let's say for example, we're saying where email like at 3xpoint, we know these exist in the database, which is this one, right? Okay, if we now have something else that does not return to true here on the other hand, which is just one letter and another letter, one letter we don't know and the other which we know, and if we try to select this, it won't return anything because both of them must evaluate to true, and that's what the AND is all about. Okay, so going on to the next one, we have select star from student where last name like OLU and percent, meaning OLU and anything else after that. So you can see we have OLU Olufumilaya, which is mine, and then another one OLU Olulano. So you can see how we can now start analyzing data and scrubbing and trying to look for patterns from a set of data using all these operators. So we have another equals operator. This one should be straightforward enough. So select star from student where person ID equals 5. So person ID where it's equal 5, it will return the data that belongs there. And we have the not equals operator as well. So here we're saying where city is not equals to London. So first of all, let's see. So we have a number of cities here. We have New York, London, Lagos, London, Chicago. But we're saying we don't want to return anything that has to do with London. So let's say that. So if you look at the data, you can see that you will not find London there. So these, you can see how all these operators work. Similarly, let's return back all the data. And remember, I told you the other time that this less than and equal sign facing each other and this exclamation mark and equal sign, they both mean the same thing, which is not equal. So if I select this, you can see that it's going to return the same data, which is returning all of the data but London from the city column. So let's have a look at the less than operator. So this should be straightforward as well, because we're saying return data from students table where person ID is less than 3. So you can see we have 1, 2, 3, but we want something that is less than 3. So I would expect to see 1 and 2. So if I execute this, you can see that that's what we get back. And the same thing applies for the greater than operator, which will return everything greater than 5, but it won't return 5, because what we're saying is we just want something that's greater than 5. And you can see it's starting from 6. So 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Then we have another one, which is the OR operator. So less than or equal. Yes, that's the other one. So we have the less than or equal. We also have the greater than or equal. As a matter of fact, it's not even equal, it's and. So it's less than and equal, greater than and equal. So with this, from our concept of and that we did before, right, both must return to true. So what this is saying is less than and equal to 3. If we select this, it will return data that is greater than 3 plus 3, because we're saying less than and equals to 3. So similarly, if we did this for 5, instead of returning from 6, you can see it's bringing it back from 5, because now we're saying not just the greater than, we also want the one that is equals to 5. So looking at this other one, what do we have here? Where person ID is greater than and equal to 7 and email like %live.com. So given what we already understand about and, the expression on the left and the expression on the right must both return to true. They must both evaluate to true to bring back any data. If either of them evaluate to false, then we won't have any data back. So that's the case where we have this. So you can see that we want something that is greater than and equals to 7, right? Which is what we already have, 7, 8, 9, and 11. But we have an additional condition that says the email must be like %live. So if you look at the email column, you can see that everything that is being returned are all at live.com. Okay, so these are ways. So it depends on the business requirement. It depends on the things that your manager or anyone in the organization that you report to asks you to find out. So you can be given a report and say, we want you to go in this report or in this data set and bring back this kind of data. So it is up to you to now start knowing which operator you're going to use. So moving on to the in operator. So there's an in operator that says you'll be the one to specify the values, and you say you just want data that is in this. So in this case, what I've done is I have city, we have this city column, and I've said, okay, I want data that the city is just in London and Chicago. Give me the data that have city in just London and Chicago. And if I run this now, you will find out that all we have is London and Chicago. And the syntax for this is, by the time you give the in, you open parentheses, close parentheses, and then start putting the values that you're after inside it, and you separate them by a comma. And remember, don't forget that anything that has to do with characters should be in single quotes, and anything that has to do with figures do not require any single quote. And that's the same concept, which is consistent with everything that we've been doing. You can see here it's just standalone, but here, because they're characters, they're in single quotes. So we have another operator, which is the between. And this is also straightforward because you're just saying I want data between X and Y. So in this case, we have select everything from student where person ID, which is this column here, is between 1 and 3. So what sort of data do we have? So we have 1, 2, and 3. So it's going to return the ones that you specify. It's not like the greater than or the less than. This one is saying give me data that is between this and that. So it will return these ones that were specified and any other one that is between them. Okay, that's the whole essence for this between. And if we use another column like the age, so I can say, okay, give me data. I want students that are between the ages of 22 and 25. So you can see SQL is really straightforward and easy because it's just like you're speaking English. There's nothing hard about speaking English if you already know how to speak English. So you can see we're saying give us data between the ages of 22 and 25. So we don't have 22 in the table, so that's why we don't have 22 returned to us. But at least we have 23 and we have 25. We don't have 24. That's why you can't find 24 there. And if we return everything back, you can see look at the tell 22 or 24. You see? So that's that. Then we have the not operator. So I'll remove this. So the not operator is saying select everything from students where age is greater than 22 and not email equals percent Gmail. We know what percent means, anything before Gmail. But the not there is to say just give me this, right? But if there are data that has Gmail in it, I don't want it. So that's what the not is saying. So let's say, for example, if we have this, do we even have anything that is Gmail? No, we don't already. So let's actually change this to something else. Let's change this to %live.com. So we know that there is live in this. If we run just this alone, we know it has live, live.com. But if we now say give me all these things but remove the ones that have live.com, you can notice that even though we said do not return the ones that have live.com, we still have live returning back to us. Do you know why? That's because percent works only with the like operator. So you need to take note of that. So anywhere you want to use equals to, it has to be the exact value that you're looking for. If you want something that has to do with a pattern, you're not completely sure about the pattern, okay, then you use all these wildcards, and the only operator that works with the wildcard is the like operator. So bear that in mind. So now if we change it to like we've just done, and you execute now, you can see that it works exactly how we would have expected it. So even though there are some other data that meets this requirement where age is greater than 22, we have also limited that by saying, okay, return the ones that are not like this. So that's what this is doing. So these things will come with more and more and more practice. We'll give you a lot of exercises to do in this regard so you can get better at it. Now we have another one with called the OR operator. OR, just like AND, is English. So it's just a case where we're saying the value, the expression on the left and the expression on the right, either of them must evaluate to true. Either. So it's not like the AND operator that is very strict, that ensures that both of them evaluate to true. With OR, it doesn't matter which one evaluates to true. As long as it finds one, either of them, that evaluates to true, then it returns data for the one that evaluates to true. If both of them evaluates to true, then it still returns the data for us. If neither of them evaluate to true, then it doesn't return any data back to us. So if we select this, we can see that the age is greater than 22. Everything we'll have will be greater than 22, even though we have some that are not greater than 22, like we have here 20. The reason is because it has met another condition on the right, which is the Gmail. So you see, you have to be careful when you're using your OR and you have to understand exactly what you're doing. So the fact that you say we want the age to be greater than 22 does not mean that some other data will not be lower than 22. So like in this case, we already have something that is less than 22, even though we said we want it to be greater than 22. And that's because we also said we want a pattern that is like gmail.com, and this evaluates to true for that, and then it returns it back to us. But you can see other ones are greater than 22, even though they are not Gmail. You can see what that mean. So these are the very powerful things that SQL can do for us, and there are quite a number of operators that are coming out there, but these are the ones that you need to focus on because you will be using them more when you start working with SQL. And if you find yourself working with some other programming language that are similar to SQL, especially if you choose to now go into big data, there are other programming languages like Hive, like Pig, that are similar to SQL. Your knowledge from SQL can do a great deal of good to you with that knowledge, and I wish all the best with that. So see you in the next video where we will start doing some more work on data analysis. Thank you. Bye.